Okay, so with Christmas coming up and the family coming here, I am removing all of my expensive equipment out of the living room and putting in some of the cheaper stuff that I have downstairs. I thought that would be a nice opportunity to tell you a little bit more about my loudspeakers. So these are my Ocellia loudspeakers. They are being hand-built completely, as are also the drivers that are being used in there. They are being hand-built by another company, but they're also being hand-built. This is a broadband loudspeaker. It has an extra tweeter, but you can also buy this model without the extra tweeter. Another interesting thing is that down here at the bottom, over there is no bottom. It is not closed on the other side. It is just open for all the sound to get out. I'll show you some more of that footage later on. And it even has a door at the back side, which is intended to help you to adjust the loudspeaker to the acoustics of the room. So here you see the two drivers, which are covered with a magnetic cover. As you can see here, it just has some of these magnets on here, and they will connect to the bolt that is over there, just like that. And then of course there is the tweeter. This is a special one that goes up to 40 kilohertz. These two drivers are completely cast out of bronze. They are made by hand, and the sensitivity of this loudspeaker is 98 dB. So here you see the rear of the loudspeaker. There's your two inputs for your loudspeaker cable, and what you see over here is the door that I was talking about. It has hinges, so it stays open at any angle that you would like to, and the idea behind it, you can adjust the loudspeaker to the acoustics of the room. Also, you can see over there that the carpet is just visible because there is no bottom on this loudspeaker. So here you can see you have the two posts for plugging in your loudspeaker cable. As you can see, it says minus and plus over there. And if we look at the label, this is the company is Ocellia. This particular model is the Calliope.21, and this is the silver version, meaning the internal cabling is silver cable. These are handmade in France. This is in the time that Ocellia was still a French company. They are now situated in Canada. It is a 16 ohm loudspeaker. That's something you don't see very often anymore. One of the reasons I have my particular mono power blocks is because they are also designed 30 years ago for 16 ohm loudspeakers. And you see the power rating is 15 watts. Which means you do not need a big amplifier to drive these loudspeakers, and that's also where the high sensitivity of 98 dB comes in. Okay, so this part is handheld, so it may be a little bit shaky, but I made this little construction to be able to show you what's inside of this loudspeaker. Now, first of all, here's the door I was talking about, and if I open it, you see over there, that's the hinge that will make sure that it stays open. This is how far it opens, and you can just close it like that. So looking at the bottom, you see over there it is a little bit covered towards the front of the loudspeaker. It is completely open on the bottom of the loudspeaker, and because of this feet over here rising so high, there is quite a big gap from the back of the loudspeaker to the floor, so it's completely open on the bottom. Over here you see, come on, focus, this is what you use to screw it down to the floor. But what is interesting, what they did, one side is pointed and one side is not pointed, probably depending on what kind of floor you have, and a pointy thing might scratch it. So let's put you back, and then there is one over there, of course. Also you see this curve, so it is high up from the floor, and at the height of the curve it is almost touching the floor. And then we go, move these lights a little bit closer, then we move to the inside. Now the special construction of this loudspeaker is that the sidewalls are not as rigid as most loudspeaker builders will make it. This is part of the design. So they did give it a little bit of rigidity by placing all these squares over here, but they did not want to make it any heavier. Over here, let me get in the lights a little bit closer. Over here you see the entrance for the two loudspeaker connections, and this one goes straight to this wonderful driver over there. And as you can see, these cables are directly coupled to the main driver. Over there, we see that. Over there you see the high frequency driver. And you can see they have coupled the as you can see, there is no acoustic material on the front baffle. There is some acoustic material, but just a little bit on the rear. Now there's a few more design features that are interesting on this particular loudspeaker. One of the things is that none of the sides are parallel to each other. So if we look at the side over here, if we measure at the top, you can see we have some 52 centimeters. But if we measure at the bottom, you can see we have some 57 centimeters. So the top is smaller than the bottom. Now also, the angle is not very, let me adjust the angle so you may see it a little bit better. This should be completely straight up. The front should be a bit leaning backwards, and Ocellia even tells you what the degree of leaning back it should be. So also the front and the rear are not completely a mirror from each other. And here you can see the video is distorted, so I'm going to measure it again, but the front right over here is smaller than the rear right over there. So if we measure this, you see over here some 35 centimeters. And over here it's a little over 38, almost 39 centimeters. So the front is smaller than the rear. And then of course there is this wonderful curve that they put into the design. Now remember, they made this by hand. One of the reasons these loudspeakers are pretty expensive is because a lot of labor goes into it. Now the front panel is the thickest and the sturdiest because it holds the drivers. The side panel is already a little bit lighter, much lighter, and it has the bracing as I showed you. But the top is even more light. And the reason, as far as the designer, let me tell you what the designer says. The reason for this is that they will rather have these vibrations that are going to be in any loudspeaker because of the driver pumping out these vibrations. Most designers will make a sturdy loudspeaker, making sure that the vibrations are contained. The designer here says, I want to dissipate the vibrations as fast as possible, and that is why I am using a lighter construction, not containing the vibrations that are there anyways, but making sure that they dissipate as fast as possible. Now, do I agree with that? Well, there are many different design ideas about how to make a loudspeaker. This is just one of them. Does it add to the sounds? Yes. So I have to insert a little voiceover here because I completely messed up trying to describe the sound of this speaker. So let's try again. The most important thing to tell for me is that this loudspeaker pours out the music so effortlessly that the loudspeaker completely disappears. Meaning if you close your eyes, you can't point out where the loudspeaker actually is standing in the listening space. Now I know many boxed 2- or 3-way loudspeakers can make the loudspeakers disappear too. I've heard it many times. But there's always some boxy quality left to the sound that this loudspeaker just does not have. Now describing what I mean here is difficult. That's why I messed up the first time. But even though a boxed multi-way loudspeaker may disappear, the sound always feels a little bit forced, a bit congested. It's subtle, but when you have heard it, you will understand. The end result is that the Ocellia will give you a more relaxed, natural listening experience. Another thing is that even at very, very low volume, the sound and the sound stage stay very impressively complete. Many loudspeakers will give you mids and highs at very low volume, but no lower end. And with this loudspeaker you don't need a loudness control button on your amplifier for those late night sessions. So is this the perfect loudspeaker? Well, no, of course not. There is no such thing if you ask me. One thing is that, and I have to be careful here because there are people that will hear you say one thing and immediately have decided that it is a no good loudspeaker because, well, you know what I mean. So here's what is not perfect. Because the loudspeaker's vibration is part of the design here, there is a chance that voices get a little bit too much resonance on the lower frequencies. So this is mostly on male voices. It is very subtle, but it is there. Another thing that a good 2- or 3-way loudspeaker may be better in is they feel like they have more punch. A bass slap
might feel more punchy, and it actually does. Again, this is subtle, but it is there. However, I could play you some electronic music and you will never feel it misses any punch, but in comparison, a heavy closed box is better in that regards. That said, however, my feeling is that this is the trade-off for the freedom and the naturalness of the sound of the Ocellia. And if that is the trade, I'll go with the freedom and the naturalness of the Ocellias any day over just a little bit more punch. This is the tweeter. It is the TW37 from Phi-PH. TW stands for tweeter and 37 because it is a 3.7 cm driver. It is a piezoelectric design made from very light paper, going from 11,000 Hz all the way up to 30,000 Hz. The basket is made from lead-free bronze and it has a high sensitivity of 98 dB and a high impedance to reduce the interaction with the wide range unit. This is the full range driver. It is the H21LB15 SAG, a 21 cm driver with a paper cone and a bronze basket. It has a Alnico magnet and the voice call wire is made from silver with silk insulation. Sensitivity is 98 dB and the range is from 45 Hz up to 14,000 Hz. Okay, this is the end of the video. I will be making and posting some sound sample videos, but I will post them separately. The reason for that is because keeping your videos monetized is getting more and more difficult on YouTube. So I decided to keep my videos and my sound samples apart. It is an experiment, so I may change that in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you liked this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And I see you next time.